If not, then we were welcoming Alain RATIER, a former General Director of EUMETSAT, to talk about inspiration and cooperation. So in 2022, for the very first time in history, a piece of work of a contemporary African artist will leave Earth and travel through space. So Africa is suffering from climate change, and yet it's the continent that produces the least CO2. So how can we forecast in Africa? Because the agricultural capacity depends on the precipitation, rainfalls, temperatures, etc. The floor is yours, Alain. Thank you very much, Marina, and good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning, and thank you for inviting me.
My presentation takes a different angle. It's about the role that young artists can play in communicating about climate change, space, and sustainable development. So you will not see many images or satellites, but you will hear about a project which involves contemporary artists of Africa in communication. And this project is the convergence of the views of EUMETSAT, a satellite operator, and African Artists for Development, an association promoting the involvement of artists in communication and more generally in development projects in Africa. So this slide is about the perspective of EUMETSAT. So as you probably know, and it's visible from this image, METEOSAT observes Africa much better than Europe. For geometrical reason, it's above the equator, and so the maximum resolution is achieved over Africa and not over Europe. This is the rationale for offering METEOSAT data to Africa to support the aspirations of Africa to sustainable development in our changing climate. And Marina told you how important climate change is in Africa. In practice, the cooperation between EUMETSAT and Africa started more than 30 years ago and has taken various forms, but we have user fora every second year, and the next one is in Tanzania in this September. And EUMETSAT has invested in a dedicated data broadcast system covering Africa. And the originality is that we use TV broadcast systems, perhaps the same TVs that broadcast your own forecast from the television. They also broadcast digital data for use by African users. And there are more than 40 small stations available across the African continent to deliver data from EUMETSAT satellites, but also forecasts to African users. Last but not least, EUMETSAT has been supporting a series of capacity building projects funded by the European Union to help the Africans to develop the applications of the data and also to organize training. So it's an integrated effort, and it goes much beyond meteorology, as you have seen, fires, etc. The next challenge is to transition the African users from the current generation of METEOSAT, MSG, to the third generation, so METEOSAT third generation, and the first imaging satellites, I1, will be launched, as you heard from Federico, in November this year. There was another key player in the ASAP project. This was the African Artists for Development. This is an association which was founded in 2009 by Gervan and Mathias Léridon. And the rationale is extremely clear. It's the rationale that it is believed that the involvement of contemporary artists in support of development project is essential for communicating and for increasing the credibility of such products towards the public. And a major achievement of this association, which may be known from you, is the famous Lumière d'Afrique exhibition, which was first presented at the COP21 in Paris, and it's a selection of 54 contemporary artworks produced by artists from each of the 54 African countries, and it's a very interesting exhibition. So, and it shows you already the link with the climate agenda. So how, what happened? So, of course, there was somewhere an opportunity, a meeting between EUMETSAT and AAD, and it happened in Frankfurt, and it's thanks to Geneviève Delsol, who sits in the audience. And the idea was quite natural. It was to combine the support from space, which is delivered by EUMETSAT, and the support from contemporary art to the development of Africa. And we found out there was a key opportunity for doing something, which was the launch of the first of the third generation of EUMETSAT satellite, and this famous transition of the users for which an effort had already been initiated. And the idea came from the discussion. This was the African Space Art Project. So what is it about? It's about selecting a pictorial contemporary artwork, as was done for the Lumière d'Afrique exhibition, but on the topic space, climate, meteorology, and the development of Africa. So this was a topic proposed to candidate artists. And the idea was to display a copy of this selected artwork on the fairing of the Ariane 5 rocket expected to launch MTG-I1 and this November 2022. And of course, this required a partnership with Arianespace, with whom EUMETSAT had a contract for launching the satellite. But we needed the agreement of the co-passenger, because this is a dual launch, to have this picture displayed, and it was achieved. And last but not least, send this piece of art into space. So that was the idea. But we started with a first cooperation between EUMETSAT and AAD, which we have a nice headquarters at EUMETSAT in Germany. And as you can see, it was a unique setting for hosting the Lumière d'Afrique exhibition, which was done in 2018. But it was also a very good opportunity to mobilize the staff of EUMETSAT, who was involved in the demonstration, in showing the exhibition, and we are still also 10 of the artists contributing this. So this was a bit warming up, if you want, but it was a very exciting experience and a way to involve the staff of EUMETSAT in the undertaking. The next step was to launch the initiative, launch the ASAP project, and this took place at the 13th EUMETSAT User Forum in Africa. It was in Abidjan, and at that time we knew it was totally feasible and we could launch the initiative. There were artists present, the African Commission was involved and they were very interested and gave a very inspiring talk at the ceremony. And this was the start. Of course, it was in 2018. We had COVID a bit later, so this has a bit of an impact, but we managed to implement the process. So what was the process? The process is AAD contacted about 100 African contemporary artists and invited them to submit a proposal, a concept of an artwork related to space, climate, meteorology in Africa. And they received 60 proposals, which is quite impressive. And if you can see more on the received proposal on Facebook. And the idea was to get a pre-selection of the finalists from an artistic jury formed of artists themselves, experts of African contemporary art, but also musicians, etc. So, and all relatively young. And the artistic jury came with a proposed selection of 3 finalists, and you see them on this. You don't see the artist. This is a jury you see on the picture. So Michel Ekeba from the Democratic Republic of Congo, Jean-David Nkot from Cameroon, and another artist from Congo, Geraldine Tobe. So I will show you a bit the selected proposals. So this is one from Michel Ekeba. And Michel Ekeba, his specialty was to manufacture astronaut suit with garbage material, etc. Everything he could find, and it's quite impressive. Actually, he wears the suit, and it's quite an interesting demonstration. And what he proposed was this piece of art, where you see these astronauts from Africa floating, going to the sun and coming from the earth, where you see some symbols from the African culture with masks and so on. Jean-David Cotte from Cameroon had a very different idea, combining also space climate. So you see, he produced this proposal in the form of a stamp, was representing Africa as a solar array, more or less, as a solar panel. But you see in front of the picture a lady with a cat. And this refers to the first space adventure of Africa in the period 64 and 77, where a university professor in Zambia had the intention, believed that Africa could be the first on the moon and could be in orbit. And he formed a project. He selected astronauts, and the astronaut selected for flight was a lady. Her first name was Mata, if I remember well, and they were supposed to launch cats also into orbit, and hence you have a cat here. So you see a combination of Africa, of solar energy, and a reference to the aspiration of Africa to go into space. The last artist, so Geraldine Tobe, from Congo as well, has a very different philosophy and used a very special technique. She uses smoke to produce this type of pictures on a white background. It's a dangerous technique for her as well, and not very healthy. But she has, in my opinion at least, a very interesting sense of poetry. And you see, she tried to represent an African, to give a hope, the hope of Africa in the face of climate change, and a sense of momentum with people involved in the day-to-day life and work, agriculture, etc. So a very different piece of art. And we had the challenge, because this was a proposal from the artistic jury, we had the challenge to select one piece of art from the 3 finalists. And each finalist was invited to present its proposed work to the final jury. And it was quite interesting, actually. For instance, Mr. Knott had studied everything on MeteoSat, and he made a presentation showing how the system was architecture, images, etc. It was absolutely amazing. He had really appropriated the topic. And the others took very different angle, but they had prepared videos, so they were really showing their engagement into the project and into the topic proposed for the artistic competition. So we were quite impressed, and as I showed you, the proposed artworks were very different in nature, so we wondered what to do. And finally, the idea was to take cooperation as a value, and this is a core value for fighting against climate change. And the proposal was say, why not asking them to cooperate and to produce jointly a common artwork? Of course, this was a challenge because, you know, one is using smoke, the others are perhaps a bit more compatible, but whether it would be successful was an open question. But we tried, and they accepted. But the idea was to have a synthesis of the artistic perspective and combine the techniques. So they were invited in residence in Benin by the Ministry of Culture and Tourism in Benin. And they made it. rather rapidly. The beginning was not so easy, I have to tell you, according to what I was told myself. But you see the result, in January it was done. And you see, I will show you this, yes, it is coming. And they produce this, and you start to see a bit the various features combined from the previous proposed works into one work, which they called Memory of Today, Memory of the Future, and they refer to themselves as NET. These are the initials of their names in a right order to produce this acronym. And you see that, you see the smoke technique was used. The man became a woman because Geraldine Tobe was confronted to ladies at work in Benin and found also it was the right time to promote the role of women into this challenge of development. But you see the momentum is there, the hope is expressed. You see in the background a map. This is coming from Mr. Knott. Inspirations. You see also the solar panel. You see maps of various cities in Africa. And you see also these colored afronauts, as they call them, in different colors floating around. And there is one color per type of climate you can find in Africa. And you see also this type of, and this comes from the other artist. And you see also this sort of signs in white, and these are taken from the cosmogony of the Dogon people, which lived in Mali and a bit of Burkina Faso. So you see, they managed to integrate all this in quite an amazing piece of art. I think we were really enthusiastic when it was revealed to us, with a nice title. So what comes next? But I told you the launch is scheduled for end of November 2022. So the sticker for the Ariane 5 fairing is being manufactured. So you see the full piece of art, the logo of the project, and you see the name. You see some names on the right. These are the names of the 60 artists which submitted proposals, including those in white, which were selected to deliver the final joint piece of art. There are exhibitions 14 in Benin, in Tanzania, in Brussels, and there will be more to come later on. And you can see in the picture on the right where the sticker will be displayed. It's not shown here because it's not yet available, but you see how it will be seen from the TV, from you, from the launchpad in Kourou. And I hope some of you will be there. So, the last thing is to send the African artwork into space, and this is a symbolic gesture, but there was a lot of attraction of the meaning of this gesture, because it celebrates the Africa's aspirations to sustainable development in our changing climate. It involves the inspiration of the artists of Africa, and it celebrates also the cooperation, which, as I said, is certainly a core value of the fight against climate. And one of the artists, Geraldine Tobe, was very, I told you she had a real sense of poetry, which transpires from what she said. And every artist was invited to write a small comment on the back of the picture. And she wrote this. So, and you feel that she has appreciated. She has questioned herself about the meaning of this move of the rocket from Earth to space. So, in English, when the rice we're talking about finally reaches space, there's a chord on Earth that breaks. In French, quand le riz dont on parle atteint enfin l'espace, il y a un cordon sur Terre qui se casse. I was quite moved by this thing. So, of course, there have been a number of things sent into space, including messages from the Martians and beyond, but the most recent one was the launch of a Tesla car, which you may have seen. And I think launching this piece of art is probably a more humanistic gesture than launching a car. the more so as it will not stay as a debris in space because the fairing will be retrieved at sea. So, as you see, it was an interesting experience, but it's another angle of communication. And I'm sure, I cannot talk anymore on behalf of EUMETSAT, but I'm sure you are all invited to the next forum, user forum in Africa. It's in Tanzania, and it's from the 13th to the 16th September, where there will be discussion on climate change, on the blue economy in Africa, on disaster risk reduction, just what we're talking about. And also the presentation of the artwork by the artists themselves. So there will be an occasion to see how they could contribute to the discussion. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Alain. Thank you. Je vous remercie tous.
Thank you very much for a very rich morning. We meet back here at 2 p.m. There's a mistake in your program. It's 2 p.m. at 2 p.m., not 2:50. We meet back here at 2 p.m.